There is a giant in your life right now. You know exactly what it is. Maybe it is a mountain of debt that keeps growing no matter how hard you work, no matter how many hours you put in, no matter how many sacrifices you make. It just keeps growing. Maybe it is a sickness in your body, or in the body of someone you love deeply, and the doctors have done all they can, and you are running out of answers. Maybe your giant is depression, that heavy, dark cloud that follows you everywhere you go. That feeling of waking up in the morning and not being able to explain why you feel so empty. Maybe it is loneliness. You are surrounded by people, but nobody really sees you. Nobody really knows what you are carrying. Maybe it is a broken marriage, a relationship that once had so much love and now feels like two strangers living under the same roof. Maybe it is a failing business. You believed in that dream. You gave everything to it. And now it feels like it is slipping through your fingers. Whatever your giant is, it is loud. It is big. It feels stronger than you, and every single morning you wake up and it is still there, waiting, watching, mocking you. But I need you to stay with me today, because 3,000 years ago, a teenage shepherd boy, with no army, no military training, and no armor that even fit his body, walked onto a battlefield to face the most feared warrior the world had ever seen. And he did not just survive, he won. His name was David, and his giant was named Goliath. Today, we are going to learn exactly how David defeated his giant, step by step, stone by stone. And more importantly, we are going to discover how you, yes, you, wherever you are watching from right now, can defeat yours. Because this is not just a Bible story that happened a long time ago in a faraway land. This is your story. Let me take you back, all the way back, to a valley called the Valley of Elah. The year is approximately 1000 BC. The nation of Israel is locked in a fierce war with the Philistines, their greatest enemy. Two armies are camped on opposite hillsides, staring at each other across a deep valley between them. And for 40 days, 40 long, humiliating days, not one Israelite soldier has moved, not one. Why? What could possibly paralyze an entire army for 40 days? Because every single morning as the sun rises and every single evening as the sun sets, a man steps out from the Philistine camp and walks down into that valley. And the moment his voice thunders across the hills, every trained soldier in Israel turns and runs. His name is Goliath of Gath. He is 9 feet tall. 9 feet. Stop and think about that for a moment. If Goliath were standing in the room where you are right now, his head would be touching the ceiling. He would have to bend down to walk through the door. He wears a full suit of bronze armor that weighs 125 pounds. The tip of his spear alone weighs 15 pounds. He carries a shield so massive that another soldier walks ahead of him just to carry it. Goliath has been a warrior since his youth. He has never been defeated. Not once, and twice every day, he fills that valley with his voice and he shouts the same challenge across to the Israelites. Why do you come out and line up for battle? I am the Philistine champion. You are the servants of Saul. Choose one man to come and fight me. If your man wins and kills me, we will become your servants. But if I win and kill him, you will become our servants." The Bible records what happens next with just a few devastating words. It says, "When Saul and all the Israelites heard these words, they were dismayed and terrified." Dismayed, terrified. For 40 days, King Saul himself, the tallest man in all of Israel, a man who had won many battles, heard Goliath's voice and could not move. Not one soldier volunteered. Not one hand went up. 40 days of silence and shame. Now, into this scene comes a boy. His name is David. He was the forgotten one, the one nobody expected anything from. David is not a soldier. He has never fought in a war. He is a shepherd boy. His job is to walk slowly behind sheep across hillsides and make sure they do not fall into a ditch. On this particular day, his father Jesse sends him to the battlefield, not to fight, but to carry bread and cheese to his older brothers. He is a delivery boy on an errand. But then David arrives at the camp, and he hears the voice of Goliath roaring across the valley for the 10,000th time. And while every soldier around him shrinks back and looks away, David steps forward. His eyes are wide. His heart is burning. And he says something that nobody in that camp has said in 40 days. Who is this Philistine that he should dare to defy the armies of the living God? Nobody answered. Goliath's challenge for 40 days. David answered it on his first day. And when the news reaches King Saul that this boy, this shepherd boy, wants to fight, Saul brings David before him. And he looks at this young man and says, "You cannot go and fight this Philistine. You are just a boy. He has been a warrior from his youth." And David looks back at the king and says, "I have been keeping my father's sheep. When a lion came and took a lamb from the flock, I went after it and struck it and rescued the lamb. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair and struck it and killed it. Your servant has killed both lions and bears. This Philistine will be like one of them." David was not boasting. He was remembering. He was connecting what God had already brought him through to what God was about to bring him through next. And then he said something that the entire army needed to hear. He said, "The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear, he will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." Saul looked at this boy, and he said the only thing he could say. He said, "Go, and may the Lord be with you." Now we come to the first of 3 powerful keys that David used to defeat his giant. Key number 1, know your giant's weakness. Here is something remarkable that almost nobody talks about when they tell this story. David did not walk onto that battlefield and throw a random stone in the general direction of a very large man and hope for the best. David was a shepherd. For years, long, quiet, lonely years out in the fields, he had practiced with his sling. Every single day, morning after morning, he had defended his flock from wild animals. He had sharpened a skill that seemed ordinary, that seemed simple, that seemed like it had nothing to do with war or greatness or destiny. He was not guessing when he stepped onto that battlefield. He was aiming, with precision developed over years of faithful, unseen practice. But there is something even more specific I need you to see. Goliath appeared to be unstoppable. He was covered from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet in thick bronze armor. His chest was protected. His legs were protected. His arms were protected. But look closely, his forehead was not. Goliath was so large, so heavily armored, so dependent on his own enormous size and strength, that he had one critical weakness built right into his design. He was built for close combat. His armor was built to protect him against swords and spears. His size made him nearly impossible to knock down in hand-to-hand fighting, but a small stone, moving at high speed from a distance of 100 feet, he had absolutely no defense for that. The very thing that made Goliath look unbeatable, his massive size, his heavy armor, was also what made him slow, exposed, vulnerable to a weapon he had never prepared for. David studied his giant, and he found the crack in the armor. Now let me speak directly to you for a moment. Have you studied your giant? Not feared it, not run from it, not spent sleepless nights imagining how it will defeat you, but actually sat down, looked at it clearly, and asked the question, where is the weakness in this thing? Because every giant has a weakness. I want you to hear that. Every single giant, no matter how overwhelming it looks, has a crack in its armor. But most people never find it because they are too busy being terrified to start looking. If your giant is debt, the weakness is mathematics. Debt is not a monster. It is a number, and numbers can be attacked. Start with the highest interest debt. Cut it down first. Watch the whole mountain begin to shrink. If your giant is fear, the weakness is this. Fear is almost never as big in reality as it is in your imagination. The moment you take even one single step toward the thing you are afraid of, fear begins to lose its power over you. Fear lives in the space between where you are and where you need to go. The moment you start closing that space, it shrinks. If your giant is depression or loneliness, its weakness is isolation. Depression is fed by silence, stillness, and being alone. The crack in its armor is movement, community, light, and connection. These things do not cure everything overnight, but they begin to break the power. If your giant is a person, someone who controls you, intimidates you, or has wounded you, their weakness is this. They only have power over you as long as you believe they do. The moment you stop giving them permission to define your worth, the giant begins to fall. I want to share something with you that changed how I understood this story. Goliath was so large that David could not possibly miss him, and David was so small that he could not afford to miss. That was David's advantage. The very things that made David look weak, his youth, his size, his lack of armor, his lack of experience, forced him to be precise, focused, intentional, strategic. He could not overpower Goliath with brute strength. So he had to be smarter. He had to aim better. He had to find the one spot that no one else was looking at sometimes. And I want you to really hear this. Sometimes your greatest limitations are not your weakness. They are your secret weapon. The place where you feel the most inadequate might be the exact place where God develops the precision that brings your giant down. Right now, I want you to do something practical. Open the Notes app on your phone or pick up a pen and paper. Write down the name of your giant and then write this question underneath it. What is the crack in its armor? Where is the weakness? You do not need to answer it perfectly right now. You just need to start looking, because once you find that crack, everything changes. The giant that seemed unstoppable begins to look very different. Key number 2. And this one may be the most personal key of all three. Reject the wrong armor. This is the part of the David and Goliath story that almost nobody preaches, almost nobody highlights. But when I read it, something inside me said, this is for someone today. This is for someone who has been trying to fight their battle with the wrong tools, in the wrong way, as the wrong version of themselves. Let me tell you what happened. When David volunteered to fight Goliath, King Saul was stunned. He looked at this young shepherd boy and he said what any reasonable person would say. He said, "You cannot fight this man. You are just a boy. He has been trained for war since before you were born." But David would not be talked out of it. So Saul did something generous. He offered David his own personal armor, the best armor in the entire kingdom. His royal bronze helmet, his coat of armor, his own sword. Think about that. The king is giving you his personal equipment. This is the greatest honor. This is the best possible head start. David put it on, every piece of it. And then he tried to walk. The Bible says he tried once. And then in front of the king, in front of the soldiers, in front of everyone, David took off every single piece of that armor and set it on the ground. And he said to Saul, "I cannot go in these. I am not used to them." He walked away from the king's armor. Now, I need you to think about what this moment really means. Every person watching. David in that moment probably thought he was making a terrible mistake. The king had offered him the best protection available. Who turns that down? Who walks away from the king's armor on the way to fight a 9-foot giant? But David understood something that the people around him did not. He was not Saul. He was David. If he had walked onto that battlefield wearing Saul's armor that was built for Saul's body, Saul's fighting style, Saul's way of going to war, he would have been slow. He would have been unbalanced. He would have been trying to fight as someone he was not. And wearing someone else's armor into your own battle is one of the most dangerous things you can do, because here is what happens. The armor weighs you down. It does not fit your body, your stride, your movement. You cannot run properly. You cannot react naturally. You are so busy managing the armor that you cannot focus on the giant, and you lose. Not because you were not strong enough, but because you were fighting as the wrong person. Now let me ask you something very honest. What armor are you wearing right now that does not belong to you? You have been watching someone on social media, someone successful, someone with thousands of followers, someone making money, and you have been trying to copy their exact strategy, their exact style, their exact voice and personality. Because it is working for them, that is Saul's armor, and it does not fit you. You have been trying to build your life the way your parents built theirs, following their exact path, their exact timeline, their definition of success, because that is the only template you were given. But you are not your parents. You are living in a different time with different gifts, with a different calling. Wearing their template-like armor is weighing you down. You have been performing a version of yourself that you think other people want to see, louder than you really are, more confident than you really feel, because you believe that is what success looks like. But that performance is exhausting you, because it is not you, that is Saul's armor. Take it off. David walked away from the king's armor and went back to who he actually was. He reached into the stream. He chose 5 smooth stones. He placed them in his shepherd's bag. He picked up his sling, simple, familiar, his tools he had used since he was a child, tools that had already saved his life against lions and bears, tools that fit his hands, his muscle memory, his way of moving in the world, and with those tools and only those tools, he walked out to face the giant. I want to ask you a question that I want you to sit with. What is already in your hand? What is the gift, the skill, the experience, the story, the ability that is uniquely and completely yours that you have been ignoring, minimizing, or ashamed of because it does not look impressive enough by the world's standards? Your voice, your personal story of pain and survival, your ability to make people feel understood, your creative gift, your years of experience in a field that you underestimate, your resilience built from years of difficulty, your knowledge of what it feels like to hit rock bottom and still get back up. That is not weakness. That is your sling. That is the weapon that will take down your giant, not someone else's armor, not someone else's strategy, not someone else's voice, yours. The weapon God has placed in your hand is perfectly shaped for the giant in front of you. Stop reaching for someone else's sword. Pick up what is already in your hand. Key number 3. This is the one that changes everything. Run toward the giant. I want to read you one verse from the Bible, just one verse. 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 48. As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Read that again slowly. David ran quickly toward, not away, not sideways, not slowly and reluctantly. He ran quickly toward the thing that had terrified an entire army for 40 days. The giant did not come to David. David ran to the giant, and I want you to understand what that means for your life today, because most of us have been doing the opposite. We have been standing on our hillside, looking across the valley at our giant, waiting for the right moment, waiting until we feel ready, waiting until we have enough money, enough confidence, enough experience, enough support, enough certainty that we will succeed. And while we wait, the giant keeps shouting. And the longer we stand still, the louder the voice gets. And the louder the voice gets, the bigger the giant looks. And the bigger the giant looks, the more impossible the fight seems. This is the trap. Waiting until we have enough money, enough confidence, enough experience, enough support, enough certainty that we will succeed. And while we wait, the giant keeps shouting. And the longer we stand still, the louder the voice gets. And the louder the voice gets, the bigger the giant looks. And the bigger the giant looks, the more impossible the fight seems. This is the trap. Because here is the truth about fear that most people never discover. Fear does not get smaller when you wait. Fear gets bigger. Fear is not a wall that you have to break through. Fear is a shadow, and shadows have a very specific property. The moment you turn and move toward them, they begin to shrink. They do not disappear immediately, but they shrink. The moment you take one step in the direction of the thing you are afraid of, it begins to lose power over you. But standing still is what feeds the giant. Let me tell you about someone. There was a woman who had a business idea she believed in. She had the knowledge, she had the skills. She had seen the need in her community. She had even written out a business plan. But for 3 years, she did not launch. Every time she got close, She told herself she was not ready yet. She needed to learn more. She needed more money. She needed more certainty. She needed to wait for the perfect moment 3 years. Then one day she decided to make one phone call. Just one. To one potential client. Not a full launch. Not a big announcement. Just one phone call. The client said yes. 3 years of fear. Defeated. By one phone call. That phone call was her stone. And she had to run toward her giant to throw it. Now here is something in the story I want you to notice very carefully. Before David ran, before he took a single step toward Goliath, he stopped at a stream, and he chose 5 smooth stones. He picked them up one by one. He examined them. He placed them carefully in the pouch of his shepherd's bag. Those stones were not special. They were not magic. They were ordinary stones that had been lying in that stream for years, decades, maybe centuries. Just lying there, waiting. They were already there. Everything David needed was already there, but David had to bend down. He had to choose them deliberately. He had to pick them up and carry them. And then he had to run. And that is the pattern for you. The resources you need to defeat your giant are probably closer than you think. The connection that will open the door is probably in your phone right now. The skill that will change your situation is probably something you already have. The opportunity you have been praying for may already be in front of you, waiting to be picked up, but you have to reach for it. You have to choose it intentionally. You have to pick it up, and then you have to run. And notice one more thing. David did not pick up one stone. He picked up 5. Why 5? Goliath only had one forehead because David was wise enough to plan for failure. He was wise enough to know that victory is rarely clean on the first attempt. If the first stone missed, there was a second. If the second missed, there was a third. Resilience is not about getting it right on the first try. Resilience is about always having another stone in your bag. Your first attempt may not work. Your first launch may struggle. Your first conversation may go badly. Your first business may fail. Pick up 5 stones. Have a plan. Have a backup plan. Have a backup to the backup. Keep your bag full and then run. What is the one thing you have been avoiding? Not the whole giant. Not solving everything. Not fixing your entire life in one day. Just one thing. The conversation you've been putting off for 6 months. The application you wrote out but never sent. The doctor you have been afraid to call. The apology you know you need to give but have been too proud to offer. The first video of your channel that you have recorded 3 times but never published. That is your stone. And your giant is standing in the valley, waiting, counting on you to stay on your hillside one more day. I need you to hear this. You do not need to be fearless to run. David was not fearless. He was a young teenager standing in front of a 9-foot professional warrior. His hands were probably shaking. His heart was probably pounding. But the Bible does not say David walked slowly and carefully toward the giant. It says he ran. Quickly. He was afraid. And he ran anyway. That is the difference between people who defeat their giants and people who spend their whole lives staring at them from a safe distance. Not the absence of fear, the decision to run afraid. Before we close today, I need to speak to you about something deeper, something that I believe is at the very core of why so many people never defeat their giants. We have been talking about external giants, the debt, the sickness, the failed relationship, the impossible dream, the circumstances that feel like they are crushing you from the outside. But I want to ask you about the giant that lives inside. Because for many people watching this right now, the most powerful giant is not the situation outside of them. It is the voice inside of them. The voice that says, "You are not good enough for this." The voice that says, "Who do you think you are?" The voice that says, "You have made too many mistakes. You have wasted too much time. You have hurt too many people. You have failed too many times." The voice that says, "People like you do not get to win." That voice is a giant, and it may be the loudest giant you have ever faced. I want you to notice something about Goliath that you may have missed in this story. He shouted for 40 days. Every morning and every evening, without fail, for 40 days. The same threats, the same taunts, the same enormous, terrifying voice filling that valley. But in 40 days, not once did he ever cross the valley. He stood on his side. He screamed. He intimidated. He roared, but he never moved. The giant was all noise. He was counting entirely on the power of his voice to keep the Israelite army frozen on the other side. And it worked. For 40 days his voice was more powerful than an entire army, because the army believed what the voice was saying, and that is exactly how your inner giant operates. It roars, it shouts. It fills your mind with noise at 3 in the morning when you cannot sleep. It replays your failures. It highlights your inadequacies. It reminds you of every person who ever told you that you were not enough. But listen to me carefully. That voice cannot stop you. It has no power to physically prevent you from moving. It can only shout. It can only shout. The only power it has over you is the power you give it by standing still and believing what it says. Now I want to show you the real source of David's strength, because it was not his sling, it was not his aim, it was not his courage. When Goliath saw David walking toward him, he was offended, he was insulted. He said, "Am I a dog that you come at me with a stick? Come here, and I will give your flesh to the birds." And David answered him. He said, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. And everyone here will see that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." David was not operating in his own strength. He was operating out of a conviction that was bigger than himself, a purpose that was greater than his fear, a God who was larger than any giant he would ever face. And here is the question I want to leave with you in this quiet moment. What is your why? Why do you need to defeat this giant? Is it for your children so that they grow up watching you choose courage over fear, and they learn from your example that giants can be defeated? Is it for your family so that the next generation of your household does not inherit the same chains that have held your generation? Is it for the people you are called to serve, the community, the audience, the students, the patients, the congregation that is waiting for what only you can give them? Is it because you believe deep in the most honest part of your heart that God placed something in you that the world needs, and you refuse to let fear be the reason it never comes out? When your why is bigger than your fear, the giant does not stand a chance. And then I want you to say something. Right now, out loud wherever you are, in your room, in your car, on your phone. It does not matter who hears you. Say these words. I see you, giant. I know your name. I know what you have been doing to me, and I am done standing still. I am coming for you. Let me bring everything together for you today. 3 keys, 3 smooth stones, 3 truths that David understood and that you now carry with you. Key number 1, know your giant's weakness. Every single problem, no matter how enormous it looks, has a crack in its armor. Study your giant. Stop fearing it long enough to examine it. Find the weak point. Aim there. Do not throw stones randomly. Aim with precision at what you have studied. Key number 2, reject the wrong armor. The tools, strategies, and paths that worked for other people may not fit you. Stop trying to fight your battle as someone else. Go back to what is already in your hand, your story, your gift, your unique, God-given way of moving through the world. That is your sling. Pick it up. Key number 3, run toward the giant. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop waiting until you feel ready. Stop letting the shouting of the giant convince you to stay on your hillside one more day. Pick up your stones, load your sling, and run. Not when the fear is gone. Run now. Afraid? Now let me tell you how the story ends. David ran toward Goliath. He reached into his bag. He took out 1 stone. He loaded his sling. He swung it, and he released it. The stone flew through the air and struck Goliath directly in the center of his forehead, the only part of his body that was unprotected, the one crack in all that armor. And Goliath, the giant who had terrified an entire nation for 40 days, fell, face down on the ground, and the Bible records something remarkable. It says when the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they turned and ran. The entire Philistine army, the same army that had dominated Israel, turned and fled. 1 boy, 1 stone, 1 moment of courage, and an entire army's power was broken. This is what happens when you defeat your giant. The fear that has been holding you back does not just get smaller. It collapses. And often when one giant falls in your life, others begin to fall with it. Because giants travel in groups, fear and doubt, debt and shame, isolation and hopelessness. When you defeat one with courage and precision and faith, the others lose their authority over your life. But there is something else I need you to see in this ending. The Bible says Goliath fell face down, not backward. Face down, meaning he fell forward in David's direction. Even in his falling, the giant fell toward the one who had defeated him. Your giant will fall toward you. The very thing that has been working against you will begin to work for you. The struggle that has been your greatest pain will become your greatest testimony. The wound that has held you back will become the very thing that opens doors and gives you authority to speak into the lives of others who are still standing on their hillside afraid. Your mess will become your message. Your test will become your testimony. Your giant will fall toward you. Now let me speak to you personally, not as a voice, as someone who believes in you completely. Even if we have never met, maybe you have been standing on that hillside for a very long time. Maybe it has been weeks. Maybe it has been years. Maybe you have been staring at your giant for so long that you have forgotten what it felt like to believe you could win. Maybe the voices, both inside and outside, have been so loud that you have nearly accepted them as the truth about who you are and what your life is supposed to be. I need you to hear this. That is not the truth. The truth is that you are still here. You are still watching. You are still looking for hope, still searching for a reason to believe, still willing to listen to one more voice that says you were made for more than this paralysis. That is not weakness. That is the spirit of David still alive in you. That is the part of you that has not given up. And as long as that part of you is still breathing, your giant has not won. So let us close today with a prayer. And if you are a person of faith, I want to invite you to close your eyes wherever you are. Father, I want to lift up every single person who has listened to this message today. You know their name. You know the exact giant they are facing. You know how long they have been standing on that hillside. You know what the giant has taken from them. You know what the voice inside has been telling them about who they are. And today I ask that you would do in them what you did in David. Not give them a perfect life. Not remove all the obstacles, but give them the eyes to see the weakness in the giant, the courage to reject every armor that does not fit them, and the faith, the reckless, running, stone-throwing faith, to take one step toward the thing they have been afraid of. Let today be the day something shifts. Let today be the day the giant hears footsteps it was not expecting. Let today be the day the stone is released. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, I have one final thing I want you to do. Go into the comments section right now. Type the name of your giant, and next to it, write these 5 words. I am coming for you. Do not just think it. Write it, because what you name out loud begins to lose its secret power over you. And this comment section will become a wall of declaration, a record of everyone who decided today that they were done standing still. And if this message reached your heart today, if something inside you shifted even a little bit, please share this video with one person, just one person who you know is standing on their hillside right now, staring at a giant they believe they cannot beat. You could be the reason they pick up their stone today. Subscribe to this channel so you do not miss what is coming next. We are building something here, and you are part of it. Until we meet again, stay strong. Keep your bag full of stones. And remember this one thing above everything else we talked about today. Your giant has been standing in that valley shouting, counting on you to stay where you are. Today you showed up. Tomorrow you run, and your giant, that thing that has loomed so large for so long, over so much of your life, does not know what is coming. Go. Run. The valley is waiting.